Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Regina's Haunted Living Room. I'm not in my library today because I don't have Wi-Fi there, and so I'm in my house. So hopefully the lighting's not so great, but hopefully everything will be okay. So I just wanted to welcome everyone if you're here and say hi to two of my guests. We're still waiting for D.L. Tillery. So we have here the lovely Aphrodite Lee and our famous E.D. Lewis from E.D. Lewis Reviews. So Aphrodite, your channel's just Aphrodite Lee, right?
Yeah.
Now, would you say you're more
simple? I should have put like author because I realized a lot of people had done that, but I made my channel so long ago.
Oh, okay. But you're mostly like an author tube channel, would you say?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Writing is like 99% of the concentration there.
Yeah. But there's a lot of course, crossover because I know we all write. Exactly. Everybody that's part of this group tonight. And we all love books. So that's what we're going to be discussing. So I got to maybe wait. Has anyone heard from Danette?
Oh. I think she just said something was going on. She needed a few more minutes.
Oh, here she's okay. We'll just chat a bit and wait for her. So what have you all been reading this week? Anything interesting? Aphrodite, what?
I've been trying to catch up on the challenge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can't even lie. I had to. I did not get done. So when we said we were doing this on the 12th, I was like, yes. I need a few more days.
That's fine because I actually just finished my last book a couple days ago. So, no one's looking. And E.D., what have you been reading?
I just finished One Girl in All the World and The Hay Bale by Priscilla Douglas.
That was good, right? Priscilla, she's awesome.
It had me on the edge of my seat, per se.
What's the name again? What was it?
The Hay Bale.
Okay. Wait, it's scary, right?
Yes. Let's see. You're more of a romance type.
I'm more of a fantasy, fantasy romance writer. Yeah. And I like scary stuff, but particular scary. Like I like monsters, so vampires and werewolves and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, like paranormal romance.
Yeah, and that's my concentration in my writing too. Believe it or not, because I have my current book out. That's like the biggest one that's out. Has nothing to do with it. It's a coming of age story. But it was just something I had to get out. It wasn't like it isn't my normal stuff. It's like the only coming of age story I have. The rest of them are paranormal fantasy.
That's cool though. That's really cool. Oh, hi, Steven. Steven's in the chat. We'll say hello.
Let me switch to chat so I can see.
Oh, yeah.
Sam, and I have terrible eyesight too, so.
Me too. This eye is so bad. The only reason I realize the hair keeps falling in front of it is because when I look up, I'm like, oh, it's in front of it again.
Oh, yeah.
She looked mysterious, though.
I was trying to, do my inner Matilda.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had posted those great screenshots you did. The book covers for the challenge, and a friend of mine saw Matilda the Deranged, and he thought I had really written the book. And then he's like, "Well, you better get on it." I'm like, "Maybe we should all write books based on those covers that we did."
I'm not even kidding. I already started an outline.
That's awesome.
I did. I couldn't resist because when I was trying to make myself look like I was angelic or a ghost or whatever with the blue realm, but then it just looked like you did a terrible cut and paste.
I thought you guys did amazing, and Danette.
I love yours.
You all look good.
Oh, thank you.
You guys threw it out, knocked it out the park. I was like, I gotta get mine done.
Yeah, that was a fun part of the challenge. So I guess we'll just start, and Danette will join us. This was the Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge that we're discussing today, and you guys were great enough to join me because I figured all of you somehow seem into either romance or Gothic romance. I know, like Aphrodite, you're not that into horror, and Danette is into horror, but she also does a lot of like paranormal romance stuff in her writing and reading too. And then Ed, you do a lot of Gothic romance and Gothic stories, and you do a lot of stuff like I don't know, vampires. You did that whole series about different Dracula books, right?
Yeah, I'm still working on that
Are you
actually.
still working on that? Well, that was really interesting. So there's a lot of like crossover with Gothic romance and horror, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Because I always looked at like the V.C. Andrews stuff as being horror,
mhm.
and that's a big influence. Like if you read my stuff, you'll see V.C. Andrews.
Oh, okay.
No matter what it is.
Okay. Well, I definitely think of V.C. Andrews as like, I read her biography that Andrew Niederman did, who's her ghostwriter. And it was really interesting, but he said that she started her own genre, really.
Yeah,
because
I always put it in horror, but I never knew where to put it. But it scared the heck out of me a lot. So, and
me too.
I'm easy to scare, though, as you'll see as we go on.
Well, I think V.C. Andrews is scary, but it's not like, I think people who are into horror, like maybe extreme horror, might not like it.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Right.
But we all like it because we get it. We get it. I mean, I think there's nothing scarier than like a really creepy grandmother or like a family,
I think
like family issues.
What's scary about it is that it could be real. Like it's not a ghost gonna come out at you or anything supernatural. It is like the grandmother, the grandfather, the crazy boy down the lane. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's always like younger people, and that's scary too because it's like they don't know enough to get themselves out of the danger that they're in.
Yes, the vulnerability of the kids and like the first, flowers of the egg. I read a lot of the V. Andrews stuff. I'm working my way through the entire, all the series.
Yeah, loving those episodes that you're doing.
Yes, with that.
But she only wrote, of course, the first series and then part of the second one. So it's really not much, but her influence is there, I think. And it's great. I can't wait to get back to it, actually.
Right.
So Stephen said, I'm reading Hell House by Richard Matheson. I just read Hell House not too long ago for the first time. And it was great. And I did a video on it. I love the movie. I'd seen the movie when I was a kid. And it's a great occult horror. I don't know if you would like it.
I've never heard of it.
No? It's probably from this, I think, late 60s. It's really good.
I'll check that out then. If it's from the 60s, like I can handle Hitchcock stuff.
Okay.
Hitchcockian era stuff. Because that scares the bejesus out of me too, but it's different. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like this is what I can't do. Ghosts, demonic children, and mer creatures.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Like I couldn't. It was I think it was Harry Potter 4, where they had to do the tournament thing, and one of the challenges was the water that they had to go in. And I'm reading it, and I'm going through the book. I'm like, oh wow, Child Protective Services really need to step in. And my friends come over, and they're like, how far did you get in the book? I'm like on chapter 3. They're like, stop, you can't handle it. Don't read it. And I didn't because they know me, and I'm so glad I didn't because when I saw the movie, I was like, what? Oh no. I was done.
I don't know how you feel, Ed. I know you read horror, but I can't really read a lot of like extreme horror.
I haven't really dipped my toe in any of that too much, so I just don't know how well I'd handle some of it. And movies, sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I am a punk. I admit it. I wholeheartedly admit it. Like I said, I love monsters. I love my vampires and my werewolves and all that. I love that. but I can't do ghosts.
Yeah, I guess we all have our thing. Okay, well, let's kind of move into our Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge, because I don't want to go over an hour today, because I know the Oscars are coming on at 8. I don't know if you guys watch it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I thought maybe people would want to watch it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do this. I'm going to be looking this way a little bit because I have notes about what I want to mention. This Gothic Hearts Reading Challenge. I don't know. I just love Gothic romance, and I love Gothic literature, and I do like read it quite often. I thought it'd just be fun just to read it for the month of February. So, but defining what Gothic is, I guess I want to just start with that. Like, there's Gothic and there's Gothic romance, and it's a little. It doesn't have like a really clear-cut definition, but I know like the first Gothic book, I don't know if this would be romance, but I guess it would be romance in the sense of romantic literature, in the definition of romantic literature versus what we think of romance. So it's like very emotional. The romantic movement was about intense emotions and nature and this type of thing. So The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole is considered the first Gothic novel. Now, have any of you guys read that book?
I have.
Okay. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to read, is it? I mean, It's
No.
not like, it's a pretty easy read, I guess I was going to say. Sometimes you think of old stuff as like, oh, this is going to be really dreadful. Like when I tried reading the Anne Radcliffe, I didn't get very far. But I know I'm going to try. That's in my.
I'm afraid to do that same thing too, because I'm kind of scared I won't like it, or I'll be bored, or I won't get it, or something.
Yeah. But I did read that, and I also read The Monk, which is also a Gothic novel. And I was actually in a theatrical production of The Monk a long time ago. Oh, it's crazy! It's a crazy.
It's a nuts story.
It's nuts.
Really? Oh, I have to do it then.
Yeah, just be prepared. It's really it's so over the top, like violent and nuts that you kind of laugh at it, but it's really kind of crazy. It's about a priest who does awful things. I'm laughing.
I'm trying not to laugh at that.
So, and then that kind of evolved. Then there's a lot of other Gothic stories, that like ones that, of course, the classics like Jane Eyre, which I love, and a book I guess it's considered a short story, but it's kind of like a long short story or novella, is the Fall of the House of Usher by Poe.
Yeah.
That's very Gothic in that it's an old house and it deals with like family secrets and
right. That's why I think V.C. Andrew falls in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, because of the estates and the hidden secrets. So a couple themes that I jotted down are, and this definitely V.C. Andrews. Well, some of it like are supernatural elements and ghosts, which you don't see so much in V.C. Andrews, but mysterious disappearances, mistaken identities. Yeah. Corruption of the innocent,
secret babies.
Yeah, ancient curses, family incest. We got that in V.C. Andrews, and disease, mad women in the attic, hidden spouses, and this type of thing. And then old castles or estates, and the house or the castle or the estate is its own character in a way. And a lot of times the story is named after the castle or the estate, like Gaywick, which we'll talk about a little bit. And
you think of Farthing.
Yeah. And in Rebecca Manderley, is like its own character. And then inside the castles are hidden rooms, secret passages, tunnels, subterranean vaults. I think Jeanette might be coming. Yay! Here she is.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I don't know about
Hi.
that. Hey. Oh my gosh.
All
I'm
right,
sorry,
the mistress
computer.
of horror has entered.
I'm here. I would like to sick a werewolf on my computer, but I can't do that.
That's okay. We just pretty much just got started talking about what Gothic literature is, like how to define it, and kind of getting into the themes of the estates and the. I mean, there are Gothic stories that don't have these like houses and estates, but they're kind of better when they do. I don't
I
know. What do
think
you
it's
guys think?
almost still like a staple, even though if
Mhm.
you say Gothic romance or just Gothic in general from decades ago
Mhm.
compared to like Gothic stuff of today, it's just not comparable. Like the way they're written and the
Mm.
stories, so it's definitely different. I think you almost have to separate them in a way.
Yeah.
The manor and the castles and whatever the haciendas are, they are a character in
Mhm.
the Gothic tale.
Yeah.
So it does feel. I mean, they work, but it does feel like something is missing when you don't have that character.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I haven't read any that didn't have something like that, like a manor, a castle,
Mhm.
a mansion, a cathedral, a tower, something that you could run away from.
Right.
Right. So I mean, I've
on the
noticed
cover.
that. On the cover, yeah. So it seems to be that is like a character, and like it almost like it's a must. Like if you didn't put it in there, people are going to be questioning: is this Gothic?
Mhm.
I even based like in my book. There's like you have Halstead Prep. It is a big giant prep school, but they have the different domiciles, and I named them too because
Mhm.
I wanted you to feel that they were a. It was an important part of the story, not just these buildings where the kids live.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that Gothic romance, I mean, if we think about it in like that period, that mid-century period where all of the cheap paperbacks of the girls running away from the castle, that kind of evolved into like Twilight, don't you think?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
And
it
and
definitely did that
and
time period.
right, and then paranormal romance is such a huge genre now, but it's not really considered Gothic anymore. But I think it evolved out of Gothic. What
It's
do
a
you think?
baby. It's Gothic's baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one way of putting it. Although it does seem that Gothic has had a resurgence, and there have been some definitely Gothic titles that have come out recently. What is Darcy Coates, which she's like a big author now, her work is very Gothic. Have you guys read any of her
I have
stuff?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ed, you've read some of hers?
Yeah, I've read one of hers, and it was very good. Very Gothic.
I read one too, and now I can't remember what it was called, but it was very Gothic, and there was an old mansion, but it was, to me, it felt very supernatural. You know, it was really on the supernatural
Sounds like Kira
plane.
Lake as well, because she predominantly writes Gothic romance, but a lot of her stuff also can have supernatural stuff in it, which to me, I guess, if you're writing Gothic romance and you put supernatural in it, you might be considering it a subplot. I mean, a subgenre in it, that genre, because you're using supernatural beings and stuff in it, so it's going to give you the supernatural feel, obviously. But she does write ones that are not. So I read two of hers, and the one is more mafioso, but it's Gothic romance. And then the other one was supernatural for sure, because it had like angels and fallen angels and demons and stuff in it. But definitely had the Gothic feel. I think with Gothic too, you do need to remember the darkness that lays within it, because it kind of would be missing the point. Even if you did have the story, you had the story with the castle and everything in it, you need some dark undertones to give you the Gothic feel of that, rather that be in the story rather than the romance, maybe a darker side of characters and things like that, atmospheric. But without those elements, you might be making people miss if it's Gothic. So it's really like a fine line in
Definitely.
modern times with people. I see so many things under Gothic romance, and I'm kind of like looking it up, like, is it though?
That was the trouble I was having when I did my search.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Like, don't pick something that's not Gothic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that that darkness that Gothic has.
Something a little twisted. Like, rather that be people in it being dark, doing something bad, something like that. So it's kind of like you gotta have that.
Or at least
Yeah.
the promise of it, even if it turns out later on that you find out that
Yeah, it's got to be
he
atmospheric.
wasn't murdering people; he was rescuing people.
Right.
True.
And the twist, I think, of who you can trust.
Yeah.
And the paranoia, like that. I think that's definitely
a staple as well.
That's a staple, and the corruption of the innocent character.
Yeah.
I think is the hero.
Yeah.
So
That is totally me. That is me when I write anything.
Oh, well, but that's good. I think that works in literature. I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah,
because we're all in it. We're all innocent at heart.
Yep, we had it at one point.
Yeah, at one point, right? Michael's in the chat. He says, "I love horror movies. Big fan." Yeah, we love horror movies too.
Yeah,
talk about some. So let's move through our list. Are we ready?
Yeah, sure.
So I created this criteria of what I thought would make for a good reading challenge. So there were 6 points. What do we call those? And I guess I'll just go through each one and we can talk about what we read. Mm-hmm. And I had to make a list because I made sure I didn't forget any of them. And Me too. I didn't read these in order. Did you guys?
No.
Okay.
I did not read them in order.
I did 6 first.
Oh, okay. I think I saved the first for last. So
yeah, me too.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. So the first one was read a classic Gothic romance novel or short story. So you did the short story option, written before 1950. And now, of course, you didn't have to do any of these or all of them. It was just a suggestion. So I'll start and we'll just go around the group. Yep. And then we'll do the next one. The book I read, and I had it, and now I can't find it. It doesn't matter, but it was The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, which was written in 1909.
I love Phantom of the Opera.
I've never read it. I never read the book.
We'll use it for a treat then. So good.
It was so good. Yeah. It was.
I've seen like every movie adaptation of Phantom of the Opera and read the books. I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Well, I had seen a few of the adaptations. I saw the Broadway show, I think like twice back in the day. And of course I've always loved it, but I never read the book. And and I found it at an antique store, which is always a sign, that you should read something. And I finally read it and I really enjoyed it. It's, I don't even know if I would, it's definitely Gothic. Yeah. And it's not your typical Gothic romance, but it does have a romance angle in it. Yeah. With Christine and Raoul is her lover. And then, of course, Eric the Phantom, who is a great character and a romance. I mean, he's in the Broadway musical, he's much more the romantic anti-hero, like you want her to go with him.
Yeah, you like rooting for her.
Yeah, it's like Beauty and the Beast. In the book, I think he's more of like a threatening character.
Even watching it, I kind of didn't want her to go with that. Like I appreciate the fact that he was like, "I'm gonna let you go ahead and go to this boy," but
I'm like, "No,
no."
I'm into that darker romance relationship thing that they do, like, cause when I talk about Kira Lake stuff, like. My girl sometimes I'll be like, I don't know, should she be with this dude? He is very attractive and very drawing, but I'm not sure this is a good idea.
But I think that tension is what makes for a great story. I mean, even when I was reading Twilight, of course, I'm reading it older. I'm feeling like, oh, what is she doing? Get away from this guy. She's going to become a vampire,
I'm like, yes, become a vampire.
Right? I was more like, girl, go be a vampire. Go get that.
Like, girl, go get that. Go
get that. He's pretty. Get it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
What? It's okay. He's like a vegan vampire.
Exactly.
I was like, he's pretty.
He's pretty. Come on.
He's definitely cooler than, is it Jake?
Jake.
Jake the wolf.
Oh God! I just real quick. I hated the whole thing of like Team Jacob, Team Edward. I was
Everybody
like,
trying to pick a
there's
side.
no. She's not even looking towards Jacob.
Yeah,
Why?
Jacob's
Why?
interested, but I mean that's usually the story of life. You got like two people more interested in a female, and it's like, which one is she picking? It's always the female's choice at the end of the day. So it's kind of like she wasn't even interested, but then they went into a whole spiel like she became interested because she needed someone, and then it was really the daughter that would be born in the future. I'm like, you guys are reaching. But okay, I'll let it go. It's supernatural. All right.
I did a Team Spencer, Team Chase on purpose just because of that dumbness. Because it was dumb. There's never no chance for Chase in my story.
I remember my older brother got upset when we were watching it, and then it was like she was kind of leaning towards Jacob, and she was like, and he was like, I know she not. I know she not. Like, see, she trifling right now because she. What are you doing? You were at work, girl. What? They on the mountain park. He was like, I know she and just let him kiss her.
I have to watch all of that again. But yeah, okay. So that was my Phantom of that was my number one pick. So Ed, what was yours?
I read Dragonwyck by Anya Seton.
All right,
nice.
Yeah, it was not supernatural at all. It was published in the 40s, and it's more of the historical. The romance almost takes kind of a back seat, that I've noticed with a lot of older Gothics. Yeah. And it focuses a lot with the patroon system. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. It's like tenant farmers.
Oh.
So, and then the whole thing where we had the anti-renters movement in the U.S. and all the violence it caused with that, especially in this little area. And our heroine, she's like completely blind too. I mean, she sees it happening, but she's very much on the side of her love interest, the man she's married, Nicholas, who is a patroon, and she's completely blind. She agrees with everything he says, and she just kind of goes along with it. And there's people all around her telling her, no, this isn't right. You know, they should be able to own their own farms. And the violence escalates, and eventually she starts to see. And she has the other love interest who's very much on their team. So
conflict.
That's one I've definitely heard of, but never read. I got to put it on the list. But would you recommend it? Was it good?
Yes, I would very much.
Okay. So Aphrodite, what was your pick?
I picked Carmilla.
Oh, I love that.
I said, pick something that you think might be safer to read, because again, I'm a punk and this is like vampire stuff. I got through maybe a couple pages of it before I said I want to watch the movie, so I'm not done reading it.
Oh, okay.
But the movies, even the few pages that I read, because I saw a couple versions of Carmilla.
Yeah, there are a couple different versions out.
They don't live up to how well the story's being told. I don't know how to say that correctly, because they were good, but it's almost like
something's missing.
I don't even know how to explain it, because I would rather hear somebody read the book to me than the movies.
Oh, okay.
But they were good. I'm not in any way putting the movies down.
I feel like a movie can be good of a thing, but then the book just has this extra oomph that gives you more. I mean, that happens a lot with films, from book to film.
Because usually I'll read a book, and we'll talk about that when we get down here. I'll read a book and be like, oh, I want to watch this.
This needs to be a movie like yesterday.
I will write the script myself.
Right?
I'm not done, but I will get done.
That's a really good. I read that just recently, like within the last year, and I absolutely, or maybe last 2 years, I love that book. It's another one that I'm like, why did it take me so long to read this? It's so good, but better late than never.
Carmilla. Can't lose with that one.
All right, Danette, what did you read?
I read Castle in the Swamp. It was published in 1944. And who was trying to call me? No one. That's who. I gave it 3 stars. It was a hard read for me because it is from the 40s.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of terms, like I mentioned in my video. It's a lot of terms and racial slurs that they use to describe people. And I'm like, when I was reading, I was like, every time, I'm like, like every time. So it's a little hard to get through because it's very distracting. But the story was quite interesting. I will give it that. It does tell a story of a boy named Dan, who it starts off with him as a child, and he's adopted by this man who is handicapped, and he's a music teacher. And he comes to the orphanage one day, and like, I mean, nowadays you can't be walking by an orphanage just like talking to kids at fences. Like my mom, I was like, my sir, you will be getting arrested very quickly, sir. So anyway, he says to the boy like, "Oh, I'm gonna come back tomorrow or something." He's like, "Oh, you're very fit. Are you like strong?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, he wanted to be adopted so bad because they always somehow pushed him to the back burner and like wouldn't let him come out. When they would like have the other kids, like they lined up for like you picking puppies or something, where he was describing. I'm like, this is very not cool. But like
in, Little Shop of Horrors,
right,
Bushnick comes and like picks him.
Exactly, it was like that. But they would let him come out. So then when this man talked to him, he was like, "Oh wow." So he came the next day and they still wouldn't let him come out. And then the man said, "Well, I'm looking specifically for a boy I saw in the yard the other day." So he does bust out. I'm like, "Sir, you'd be so arrested." Like he was trying not to be obvious with it, but I'm like, this guy's creepy. You gonna let him adopt the kid? Anyway, so he does like get out there and they're like, "You want this child?" Like he's terrible. Like he's not though. They just didn't like him for whatever reasons. So sad. And so he does adopt him. And then we found out that there's a plot of revenge going on. That this man is trying to hide from his brother, who they own a plantation in the family. Big surprises, of course. So they like right. It is all America. Like they mentioned Baltimore, and they're like, I'm like, oh, they're all in my city. Yes, that's it. So so this whole thing is going on. So it's a plot of revenge. So that's the dark side we were just talking about, like the plot of revenge. People up to things, we know what's going on. But then the romance part is when Dan is actually falls in love as a child with his adopted uncle's daughter. It's really complicated. So now it's like his adopted cousin at this point. So his adopted father like runs out. He doesn't want his brother to find him. And this is all at the very beginning. He doesn't want him to find him for some reason, because I think he thinks like, oh, he's going to try to take his place situation. He thinks he's dead, so he doesn't want him to know. So he's making this whole plot, adopted this boy to use him to be his son later, so that way he could try to take over.
Wow!
But the boy falls in love with his adopted uncle's daughter, who meets him. They play together, but then, like I said, it was very uncomfortable situations that occur in this book. For like, it's the 40s when it was written, but it's based in like 1860 something, I want to say. And they're like, this boy is 11. She's 11 and the boy's 13, and they're like making out in the back of this like little hut in the house. I'm like, all right, I can see kids kissing, because that's what, but this is going a little too far for me.
Wow.
Like they're making out, you know what I'm saying? But that's not abnormal for the 40s. They think that's fine. Like, you know what I mean? That the kids about to get married when they were 14 back then, you know what I'm saying? So that was normal. So I was like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. Time period. All that's why we are now, because all the stuff that went on back then.
So they started early.
Exactly. I mean, I know how the world was. I'm just saying. But it was very a lot of weird stuff when you read older books. Is my like point. But it was a good, interesting story. So I would still recommend, if people like older time set books, then I would recommend this one. Even though I gave it like 3.5 stars. But the story is interesting enough to keep me reading, even though the style was like very old style, like the way the guy who wrote it. And it's by Edison Marshall. So it's like a Gothic romance. It is by a guy. So it's like, you be like looking sideways, like, is he going for real? Know what romance is? We know women, we be rolling our eyes sometimes when they say like guys can understand what romance is. We be like, but do you though? So I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm waiting for him to like fail at it, but he did pretty good considering. So I would recommend it. So it was interesting to go back and read something so much older than
Yeah,
my
you got to
experience.
open up a little bit, stretch, even though some of that stuff is
It's
pretty
a little
cringe.
hard, but
It's
I
cringe,
did.
yeah.
It still was a good, interesting story. So that's what the writer did pretty good with that. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we have our Pierre is in the chat, and he says,
Hello.
since the vampire is a classic Gothic character, where do you think vampires will go from here in Goth literature? Batilda for president. Hey, I'll tell her that. That's a good question. Where will it go from here? I mean, I think vampires are immortal in literature. Don't you think? I mean, vampires in sci-fi is a good
This
mix.
is all around. They just they'll probably be around. I mean, forever. I don't see.
I think it'll make mainstream in like literally like jobs as lawyers kind of thing.
Okay.
The story that I'm currently working on, the human girl in it finds out that the 7 billion human world that she thinks she lives in is far from the truth. And most of the humans who are filling out the census forms are all manner of all kinds of creatures. And they're out living, doing their thing. And I think that's not so much where it'll end up going, but another part of where they will also be. Because we're going to always have the Gothic aspect of vampires.
Definitely.
Always.
Looks like we lost Jeanette. Oh, no.
You having trouble?
Okay, well, she'll come back, hopefully. So let's move on to, I know, we love her. Let's go to number 2. Read a trade paperback Gothic romance novel or short story, The Woman Running Away from the Castle type. Now, I believe from my my brief research on this is that this whole paperback story craze kind of began with Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier's book Rebecca, which does anyone know the date? It's the 30s, or I think.
I don't.
38 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And that was she's an amazing writer. Great. Oh, there's Jeanette again. Great novelist. And hey.
I don't know.
That one is, I think the popularity of Rebecca opened the door for all of these Gothic romance books, the girls running away from the castle type. I was introduced to those books from my aunt who just had stacks of them, and I just loved. I love looking at the
cool.
Yeah, the covers. The covers were what really drew me in. The girls running away from the castle, and I still love the covers. And
me too.
You know, I know E.D. you collect them as well, and some of them, like what Jeanette was saying, some of the language is pretty cringe because a lot of them were old books that were maybe just they slapped a cover on it and try to like make it seem more Gothic than it was. I've run into that too. But some of them are really good. So I read, but sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good. So I read 2 for this challenge. I read The Curse of the Kings by Victoria Holt, which came out in 1973, and Augusta the First, Catherine Kimbrough. Augusta the First, sorry, by Catherine Kimbrough, Saga of the Fenwick Women, which started in 1975. Now, I'm pretty sure Catherine Kimbrough is a guy, yeah. And anything I've ever read by Victoria Holt, I've always enjoyed. Like, I think that she writes by a couple different pen names. Like, that's one of her pen names, and she writes a couple other maybe this is her Gothic pen name, but there's several others. She writes a lot of romance.
You know what? I need a Gothic pen name. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, and this one, The Curse of the Kings, was mostly set. It was set in England, but also set in Egypt. So that was really interesting because I love ancient Egypt. It's one of my passions. So that was a real treat. So I really enjoyed that one. I would highly recommend it. And it's an easy read. It was a breeze. And then the Augusta the First, I have a bunch of those books. I don't have all of them. I think there are like over 40 of them.
Yeah, I have a lot of them.
Do you have them?
Ooh. I have a lot of them. And I had almost all of them at one point, and some are missing here and there.
Oh yeah, there's like
just borrowing and not bringing back.
Oh yeah, I hate that. Well, there's over 40 of them, and I have to say I was a little disappointed with the first book it didn't feel like Gothic to me or romance. It was kind of like a historical background, like pre-Revolutionary War, England and America, but I didn't like I didn't like the main character very much. She was kind of just not a very likable person, and she had a lot of different men. She went through men after man after man and man, which I guess could be kind of cool in a story, but it's like she would have kids, and like a kid would die, and she didn't seem to care. It was
very
just
detached.
She seemed tickled.
yeah, it was. I didn't really like that one, but I will go ahead and read the second one. I haven't given up. So, Ed, what was what was your choice for this? Did we do this one? What did you read for you?
I read Shadows Over Briarcliff by Marilyn Ross, who was
Marilyn Ross, right?
W.E.D. Ross. This one was from the 80s. Actually, it was originally a Harlequin Gothic, but I listened to it on Audible. This is the one I could not remember the main character's name, so I had to literally look it up today. What was her name again? She goes, Jessica Rice. She goes to visit her sister, who's been married for about a year. A tragic accident happens, killing her sister, and she's in that same accident, but she survives and goes through a mental breakdown. She ends up leaving, going back to her their guardians, because her and her sister were orphans. Her guardians have squandered her money or taken it or something. They're not really clear. And she's eventually invited back to her brother-in-law, Stephen, who is in love with her. And then she starts being haunted by her sister's ghost. Well, haunted.
The plot thickens. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, Marilyn Ross wrote the Dark Shadows.
Yeah, of course. Always want to have interesting stuff though.
Okay, I love Dark Shadows. I might.
Dark Shadows. I know. I didn't read this one.
This one was a tad disappointing. I still liked it, but I was a little disappointed because I thought
the ending you were disappointed with, or just like the whole put together, like the whole
how it was put together. Because I honestly thought that, since it was from the 80s compared to when, his Dark Shadows books and his earlier ones being in the 60s, that maybe he'd evolved it a little bit. No, this felt like it could have been written in the 60s.
Yeah, he probably just couldn't get away from his own time setting.
He did play with the format a little bit, so it started out a little differently, but
you can kind of tell. It's like,
oh my God, I'm going to take this hair off.
She says, getting on my nerves. Girl, you got to use like the hair gel to get it to stay up there.
Oh my God.
There you go. Okay, so Aphrodite, what did you read for this one?
I read Nicholas, and it's book 1 in the Lords of Satyr.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
I think that they named them wrong. I know it's about the Lords of Satyr.
Probably should name the females, right?
Jane.
Yeah, the females probably. You were talking about that.
Because it was really about her. I mean, they start off with the boys, obviously, to let you know who they are. And then the main premise of it is the fairy king is dying, and he tells the Lords of Satyr, who are satyrs, and they live in our world, but they're from Elseworld. And he tells them, "Oh yeah, by the way, I had these 3 daughters with these human girls about 19 years ago, and go marry them and protect them."
Yeah, you need to do that.
So he tells the three Lords of Satyr that they have to go marry these fairy blend girls, and it's his dying wish. So Nicholas, who is the oldest, is like, well, he's the dutiful one. I'm going to go out and find mine. And the other 2 are like, well, the middle one is like, I don't care what he said. I'm not marrying nobody ever.
No, thank you.
And the youngest one is like, he's like thinking she could be a pet because he's very immature.
He's out of pets like she could be a pet.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I love him, but he was crazy. So Nicholas goes out, and I don't remember exactly which. It was between Rome, Venice, and somewhere else. Each girl was in 3 locations. He found his girl, and that was Jade. And I had loved it because it started off slow, because it's one of those things where it's trying to slowly tell you who they are without telling you who they are, and then go to the girl and like get into her madness, and it was complete and utter madness.
Yeah, it really was for her.
She needed to get away from them and be with Nicholas. She really did. But I don't want to give too much away, but it was off the hook crazy.
I don't think I've ever read a satyr story. That sounds interesting.
Regina,
It's a
I'm
thing.
going to warn you now.
Let me tell you now.
If you ever check it out, there's some secrets.
Wait, I got this.
There's a secret that the satyrs can do. Now, I'm going to say it without saying it.
Yeah.
They have two. So
they don't always.
Don't always, but it's specific times that they do, and they use both of them at the same time.
Oh my God.
That aside, I promise you that if they just said they had sex and without giving you details,
but that's not what happened.
The story would still be great.
Okay.
It would be. It is good. I was kind of like, it's kind of like when Aphrodite was explaining these books to me, I was like, okay, of course I read erotica and I read, stuff with sex in it. So it's not a big deal. And I'm like, okay. And when she told me that, I was like, okay, I gotta read this. I gotta see what happens. You know what I mean? And then when I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, this is a bit more Gothic than I thought it was going to be, because it was very felt Renaissance-y a little bit.
They had this whole compound, and the girl is living in a manor, is running away.
Right, like the whole world setting.
Jane, not Nicholas.
It really should have been. I really didn't know that going in, so I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know that. So, but it was good. It was good once I got the end of it. I still need to read the rest of them, but she's right. It was good.
It was so much, and then the thing that got me the most about it, because I'm reading it and I'm giggling because I am a 19-year-old boy.
Even though she writes all kinds of smut and stuff, she's be giggling while she's writing.
I was giggling the whole time, but the parts that weren't funny. Like, and the twists that came up, like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, so it had the twist. So it definitely had this Gothic stuff down.
It was really, I loved it. I recommend it, but definitely, I mean, there's some pages you might just want to say, I'll just assume, but they're just.
I'm intrigued. All right, so Danette, what did you read for your trade paperback?
Originally, it was Always in August, but it got DNF'd. The first book I've ever DNF'd.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never DNF'd the book. Yeah, I would always just finish on like, let's push through. Like, it might turn out that you like it. You don't know, it might get better. And I'm like, this is a challenge, and I felt pressed for time because I was getting I'm like, and I know me, all the books I read were full-size books. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are you picking these short stories? Girl, what's going on? So all these big books I picked, and I was like, okay. So I was trying to read this book, and it just wasn't clicking. Like, I wasn't feeling it. I'm sure somebody else would really like the book. Just that the writer's style wasn't for me at all.
That happens.
And I've read that type of style where they're over descriptive, but I expect it. If there's fantasy, I expect it. You know what I mean? So, but she was over descripting away from the plot when I wanted to know what's happening with the thing that you were just talking about. Now we over here talking about this skull. It's very smooth, and then the eyes cave in just right to the corner. Like, listen, woman, we need you to stop. Like every page. So she kind of really turned me off with that. So that's why I DNF'd it. Now this one that I end up reading is called Master of Salt and Bone by Kira Lake.
I heard of that one.
Yeah, I picked that one specifically because I knew at the time that I liked Kira Lake because I had just read another book for this challenge So I said, let me try to pick a Kira Lake book. Her books are big, always, it seems. So I was like, I'll be pressed for time, but I read her stuff so quick because it grabs me, and I like her style of writing. So it wasn't a problem.
I'm a quick reader, no matter what it is.
Yeah, like it was 538 pages, and I read it in like 2 settings. I was done. Other book, it was a week, and I was like on page 22.
Yeah,
so I was like, this isn't working. So, but I ended up reading Master of Salt and Bone. It did fit the category as far as the premise because they were the female running away from the castle. It did not have it on the cover, unfortunately, this time. But it did fit it otherwise. The story follows Isadora and Lucian. This is the one I talked about that's kind of mafioso. She's 19, so this is the one that has a bit of an age difference that some people may frown upon. So she's 19 and Lucian is 33. But to me, I was kind of like, that's nothing to do to me. That's how I got here. 'Cause my mom was 18, my dad was 32. So, you know, he was from the silent generation. She was a boomer. So that's something that does occur, people. It happens.
Yeah.
My mother's older than my father.
Right, he wasn't hunting it up, just said so their families ended up knowing each other, and that's how they met. But anyway, she's a 19-year-old who carries around a pocket knife, and she starts working at the Castle of Salt and Bone. That's what people in the town call it. The castle is in a small town. They're the richest family. They're mafioso. So my boy drives a Bugatti, so you know he rolling. Okay, the Bugatti is the most expensive car ever. It's like $10 million for the cheap one. So I was like, he rolled in a Bugatti, and Figueroa was like, okay, Lucian, I see you. Lucian, I think in this one, Lucian has bad scars on one side of his face. So I mean, he's very, very, very attractive, but he did have a motorcycle accident that scarred his face up. It's a lot of plot involved in this. There's some BDSM in this. There's some very thick things going on in this. Okay, like a dark. Yeah, I know, right? Get that ready. It's a darker society in this. Like he's in a secret organization involved in his family. So there's like, you know, because I said the mafia part is like there's people doing like cartel type of thing, like, you know, and his family dealt with it, but he took over now. He kind of want to cut ties with some of that stuff. But he's very like hard person. And she's interested in him before he's like being interested in young. He's like, no, we're not doing that. Sound like my dad. My mom was like, oh, yes, we are. So it kind of was like that. But it's interesting. So she stays there. She's working there. She's taking care of his older mother. That's a job she has there. And then her mother has drug problems, so she has not a good relationship with her. She's raised by her aunt. So it's a lot of plot stuff. Carol Lake is good.
Like, do you think that it fell under Gothic enough, though?
I think it fell under Gothic enough if you talk about the aspects we talked about. You have the castle. You have the fact that she runs away from the castle. Even at one point in the story, the main male lead tries to run away from the castle because of the problems with his family.
I like that, actually.
It has the dark undertones because of the dark society. It has the romance build of a very push and pull type of romance because of his lifestyle, her lifestyle, the drug stuff. That it's very modern, obviously, concepts, but it still had the Gothic romance aspects just in a modern way. That's why we talk about how stuff has changed over time. Yeah. If I compared this type of Gothic to like that book I read from the 40s, that was considered Gothic romance, but then I feel more inclined for the more modern Gothic romance compared to that book because I felt more darkness from this book and than that book did. You know what I mean? So, and the romance seems to be a little bit stronger in the modern stuff. Sometimes, like E.D. mentioned, they could be kind of back burner. The romance portions, also probably depending on who was writing them. You know what I mean? So yeah, this one I really recommend. I think I gave this one 5 stars.
Okay, I think I have this on my Kindle, so I might.
Yeah,
I might definitely go ahead. It's okay. I can handle it.
I know you
can.
Keep your fan handy. If you read any Carol Lake books, don't be putting your fan away. You might want to get a little small collection.
I don't get the one of the automatic one.
Right, get an automatic one. There you go.
Okay, so we said we have Garty. Is that his name? Her name said hi. Hi. Thanks for coming in. And now we move on to reader. And there's some like lap over. Is that what I'm trying to say? Like between some of these.
Yeah.
One, can go into either category or whatever.
Yeah. Carmilla, I could have used that for a couple spots.
Definitely. So this one and this one too, you could have used some of this. But number 3 is read a newer Gothic romance. So year 2000 on up, which probably the one you were just talking about, then that probably covers that. But I read The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas that just came out in 2022.
Oh, really new.
Yeah, really new. And I think it's a Bram Stoker nominated. I wish I liked it better than I did. It was also I wasn't a real fan of Mexican Gothic, and then I felt bad because this one is also set in Mexico. It has nothing to do with Mexico. I swear. It's just that, and Mexican Gothic was different.
I have not read Mexican Gothic. I
No,
hear
you
about
haven't read
talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out. It just, I felt like maybe it, I don't know, but I found it a little disappointing. But this one, it was kind of the same way. Like, it's definitely in a more like classic Gothic romance, like from like the 50s kind of setup, which is nice. And the hacienda, which is supernatural and it's haunted.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but to me, it didn't really quite have the romance. And it just kind of like, I don't know. You know, when you read a book sometimes and you're like, oh, okay, this is okay, but you're not drawn into it.
Yeah, definitely feel
it. And that's just a matter of my taste. It wasn't like poorly written or anything. So it was okay. I'm glad I read it.
Yeah.
So, Ed, what was your choice for this?
Well, I didn't know if I was going to make it to this, since this was the last book I read technically. So I was going to read a Dark Shadows novel, but it was a chunker. So I went with one I've had on my Kindle for a while, and it also was supernatural. It was Julius, Heart of Iron by Lori A. Page.
These titles are awesome. Have y'all noticed that a lot of titles are always the name of the person?
That's true too. Yeah. Or the estate.
So it was on like 60 some pages. So it's about a girl named Eleanor who she's raised by her uncle, and he decides you're going to get married. And this is like in the 18 something.
Yeah, he said so. You're doing it.
Yeah, you're going to get married. And she's like, oh, okay. So she's like, well, he has all these academics that come to his house because he's a collector of books on sorcery and all kinds of the occult. And so she's like thinking, well, these are the only people that come to call, so it has to be one of these. And then she thinks, well, hopefully it's this one guy, Julius. No, it's this guy named Mr. Helling, who she absolutely despises.
Of course. It is.
But Julius happens by, and he notices the distress that's going on, so he decides to try and help her. Well, come to find out, he's a vampire.
Of course. Well, why not?
So,
that sounds good.
So he ends up already deciding, well, I guess you can marry me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, this sounds.
It was really fast-paced.
This got us excited. It's a good premise.
I definitely want the link to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can check that one out.
Isn't there like a whole like subgenre in romance of like arranged marriages or something?
Yeah,
because that's kind of a cool idea, like for a novel, not in life, but like,
that's what happened to Nicholas.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Getting arranged to the girl who was the fairy blonde, and the family just sold her to him.
Yeah,
and because he could just throw $killions of dollars at them because I want her. She smells like a fairy kind of attitude, and they don't know she's a fairy.
Yeah.
Because they're like, she's not actually the child of her father, one of those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't care. They sold her off. But yeah, arranged marriage, definitely.
That's definitely a genre, especially in romance.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Aphrodite, what was your newer one?
Mine was Dark Desires.
Oh, okay.
And
I know that's good.
I love this one.
I told you, I'm so immature. I spent so much time giggling. But I'm not finished. I have 2 chapters or something left, but I really am enjoying it. I'm loving it. And at first I didn't think I was going to because of I get nervous. I know these books are supposed to start off with the person being in kind of trouble, the girl is being in trouble, but she's in trouble and she's in White Castle doing Jack the Ripper days. And I was like,
dangerous.
Please don't introduce Jack the Ripper because he kind of was real.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And sure enough, so I'm like, oh my God. But it was great.
She's getting stressed,
And
I've read this one. It's really good.
It sounds good.
I didn't get to the end yet, so I can't wait to get to the end because I want to know what's up with Damon now. I would do whatever he wanted me to do. And I understand how, what she's going through when she looks at him. So,
But see, that's good writing. If you can really get into, especially in a Gothic, if you can really feel like you're in the heroine or the hero's shoes,
Right.
that's
yeah, I
You're
would push
doing
her in
well.
front
you're
of a
doing
truck
well.
to take her place. I'm telling you. Like, I
Oh,
know
my.
something's up with him, or maybe something won't be up and he won't be whatever's going on because it's just madness right now. And everybody's like, he's dangerous. Don't get into his business. I'm like, can I please get
So
into
can I get to his business?
I'm trying to get up in his business. I'm just saying. But I'm liking it so far. So I will finish it tonight.
Yeah, she's ready.
Okay.
Get the glass of
Jeanette, what
wine.
was your choice for this one?
This is the one that I chose. Nightshade duology.
Oh, okay.
And Nightshade was my favorite one out of all these books.
Oh.
And that's also by Kira Lake. Like that's my new favorite writer. Like I'm gonna have to read a bunch of her stuff, and she has her covers are bomb too. Like
Yeah.
you can see the covers are like,
though, right?
huh?
She writes
They
those-
are chunky. I'm not sure how chunky they are if you have the physical book because I'm reading them on Kindle, and this one was 666 pages. I know she's playing with the 36s.
Wow.
And the other one I had finished, that Castle Bone, was 568 pages, I think it was. So they're really chunky, as far as you read on there. And I mean that's the size it says. So I imagine you would get that thick for paperback, but it's just seems like a lot more when you're on Kindle because multiple pages is really one page. But this one is the one that is supernatural inclined Gothic romance, and it's about the story of a girl named Farron Ravenshaw, which I love her last name.
That is a great name.
It is, right? My daughter's last name is Ravenwood.
Oh.
And Jericho Van Crox, which I like his last name too. And it's definitely supernatural because of angels. There's angels. There is Cambion, which and the Nephilim and demons. So you get a mixture of demons making humans, and then humans with angels, which is these mixtures. You hear Cambion, you hear Nephilim, and then you have Sentinels, which Sentinels are the ones that mix with demon and angel. So and then it's another world. Now I was like bobbing with the writer because I'm like, my girl, we both been writing similar stuff. What's going on here? Because she has it's another world in this one. I think it's called. I don't want to pronounce her other world differently. So I think I put it here.
I love when people do that.
Right? Yeah, make up their own world. Let's see here. Where did I put the note? I had like a whole freaking thing with this one because I did like a whole review on this.
But now, would you say this is kind of like a fantasy Gothic mix?
This is definitely a supernatural Gothic mix, which would fall under paranormal.
Okay.
In writing we don't really call it supernatural category; we call it paranormal. So it would be under that because of the angels and such, but it is supernatural beings. Nightshade. So the place is called Nightshade. And her father goes missing. Plus, she's dealing with the fact that her aunt, who helped take care of her, passed away and leaves her estate and leaves her a nice, money after the fact. But she has to deal with it. And when the book starts with her being at her job, she's actually taking leave for a couple months, and she's like a lecturer at this school, whatever. And so she's taking leave, and this detective comes in, and he's like, about Nightshade and about this, and this, and he's looking for this, and this person's dead, and shows her like the body. She's like, "What's wrong with this guy? Why is he showing me dead people? Like, what? Don't show people that." And so she goes home, and then she's looking for her father because he's gone missing. And he's always been to this Nightshade place. She thought he was going crazy. Everybody thought he was crazy.
It's actually called Nightshade, the place.
Yeah, so it's called Nightshade. It's called the place. So this place exists, and then the male lead actually resides Nightshade, and he is a sentinel. So you have the Cambion, and then the Nephilim, and then that. So it's a lot of back and forth. He also has a affliction on his face. He has like one of his eyes has a scar over it, so he can't see out of one of his eyes. That's her thing. Men who are like scarred or something.
This sounds really good.
This one is really good. Like it's my favorite one.
And when you find like a writer that you're really excited about and you want to keep reading
all their stuff.
Yeah,
and this is a duology, so it ends and then you need to find out what happens. But the second one, so I'm reading that one very soon. But I had to like take a break because I'm writing in the middle now. but it's really good. I definitely recommend it for everybody. I also gave this one 5 stars. I left a review on Goodreads and on Amazon.
Maybe this sounds like something I would read in the summer.
Yes.
You know, like a good summer read.
Definitely. It's definitely. And the second one is like 700 and something pages.
Whoa.
So my girl not playing. Like, she not playing like with these page counts though. Like, but you like at first this one started a little slow, but not really. But it was a little slower. And then about page 100, it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, whoa, relax.
Like that.
So they're interested. So he's kind of standoffish. That's her thing. Like the male's kind of like, I don't like nobody. Like, he's like, I don't like anyone. No one's to be trusted. You know what I mean? So, and he got like they do this real thing with her. Like when she goes into Nightshade, right? I'm not gonna say how she gets there. When she goes into Nightshade, she gets picked up on the road after she runs from a monster, and then gets taken to the cathedral of where, you know, the castle you run away from, the cathedral where he is like the lord of the cathedral, and then these people are living there. Right? These people are living there. Or are they living? These people are living there, and he has these dogs. And so these dogs, usually when people try to leave or just walk around there, these dogs will chew you up. I'm like, what? Well, who wants to be here? You know, so like new people show up and they get nervous because the dogs will kill you. And every trainer he gets, the dogs like eat them. So like she's the only person when she goes to like try to leave at one point because he's like, get out and blah 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 and all this stuff happens, and she tries to like leave and he's looking up out the window from up in his cathedral thing, and the dogs are like chasing her down, and she's like, oh, should I run? Like the girl out there like, I don't know, you probably should run because they so she like runs and they come at her, then all of a sudden they don't, and the dogs start licking her.
Oh.
And she's like, she thought she's like, this is the end of my life, I'm dead, it's over for me. And the dogs are licking her, so then she becomes the trainer for the dogs.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really good.
It sounds really good. It sounds really good. All right, so let's.
Hey, we only halfway through. Did you want to keep going? Because I know you wanted to stop at 8.
We're okay. I mean, if you guys, we're almost near the end. Let's just keep going. If you guys are cool with it. No, I know. I noticed, and you know, I'll watch the Oscars in a bit. It doesn't matter. I'm having fun with you guys. So, the next one is number 4. Read a queer main character or LGBTQ plus Gothic romance or short story. Now, this was a bit of a challenge. It's hard to find. I don't know. Maybe
Gothic romance.
Yeah, I think there's some that would be considered like even a picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde has kind of a gay kind of theme, but it's subtle, of course, because of when it was written. But I think, and that's a great book, but it's not really a romance. So I read.
had a hard time reading that though.
You what?
I had a hard time reading it.
Really?
I love the story.
Yeah.
It, but I had a hard time reading it.
Oh, Pax is here. Hi, Pax.
Hi, girl. Hi.
That's sweet of her to stop in. Yeah, that book, and there's some good movie adaptations too, so that's all maybe a way to go with it. But so I read, and I know ED read the same book, and you read it before, and I absolutely loved it. It was Gaywick, and the title's just too much. By Vincent Verga. And this came out in 1980.
Tongue in cheek with the title or what?
You know what? It's definitely a tongue in cheek title, but the book is like really serious. What did you say?
Yeah, I bet it looks like it.
It's really serious,
over the top, but it's serious.
It's over the top though, and I think that
I'm gonna read it.
It's so. I think it's so serious that it might be. It definitely goes into camp, which is like one of my favorite things in the world. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it definitely is the typical story with the innocent young man who's employed by this extremely. It's like in the New York Gilded Age, the end of the Gilded Age, and the Lord Gaywick just has this incredible estate in Long Island, and it's almost like wealth porn, you know, like it's like the details of the house.
How is this man not attractive? Because he's so rich.
He's so rich and he's sexy as
my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And
can't wait to read it.
it's really good, and it's a very slow build.
It is.
My favorite kind.
They don't even have any kind of like kiss until like I think I was reading it on Kindle. It's like at 80%. I'm like, finally. But then
You're
it
like,
goes,
please.
then it really goes off the rails, and it does get into some
So
like,
How it goes.
telling me. No.
yeah. it definitely gets into like even kind of like a, I don't know if it would be considered like BDSM, but it gets into kind of like a,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at ED for help here. What would you call it? Like a,
I don't know what to call it, but I know what you're talking about.
it's like violent sex in a way.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, because that happened in Castle Bone. It was some, I said rough sex, definitely rough situations.
Mhm.
There was like, it wasn't all the way BDSM,
Yeah.
but it was definitely rough, situations in the sex. Like it's a style.
How long is it? How long is the book?
It's pretty long.
Yeah, it's sizable.
It maybe like 400 pages or something.
Whoa, really?
I'm gonna read it. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's good. So
calm down, Aphrodite.
No, I know.
So, ED, what did you think of Gaywick?
I mean, this was like you had said, I'd read it before, but I had forgotten so much about it. I mean, I remembered the major twist.
Mm-hmm. The twist is great. We won't give that away.
Yeah.
That got me.
But a lot of it was like I like rediscovering it. I mean, and when I first was reading it for the first time, anyway, just off the title, I'd seen the film adaptation of Dragonwyck, but hadn't read the book yet. And so I thought, oh, it's going to be a gay version of Dragonwyck, and no, it's not. There was this kind of bothered me though, even though I loved the thing about twin names. Is this like a thing, like using the first and middle name of one twin, just flipping it for the other? Is that normal?
Oh yeah, that was
normal.
Yeah,
okay.
It does happen. Kevin and Nevaeh, like, I mean, it's big, definitely in our community to do that. So.
Oh, okay.
See,
that
makes more sense to me.
Some people think I think they're just messing with twins sometimes, and parents be like doing that with the twins. Just be like, they're not same enough. Let's just flip their names. Like, why you messing with me?
Doing the name, reversing the name is better than what my poor god sisters have to go through, because I have Shanice Nicole and Shanice Nicole.
Oh wow!
Wow! Why are you doing that?
I was like, Auntie. Not only are they identical twins, but you cannot tell them apart identical twins. You know how there's something about them that you can go, oh, that's Sean or that's Shay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't correct you.
I think people do that similar. Like that is similar or the same.
Right. The only people who know them apart are their children.
That's you try to play with people too.
Baby daddies. They have fooled baby daddies.
Oh boy.
That is how much their mother doesn't know them apart.
That sounds like a good novel.
It is.
I got some good twins.
I got twins. I have a twin sister short horror story. That's you not telling them apart. No.
So mine isn't horror though. Mine is romance.
So okay, so ED, would you recommend Gaywick?
Oh, definitely. It's well written. It's a great story. It's great fun. Even with the cringy moments that go on, it's great.
Yeah,
like cringe moments for there.
Well,
I gotta read it now.
It definitely it has a few like cringe moments, but yeah, it's good. And I know, is there a second?
Yes, I forget the name of it, but I have it on my shelf. There's a third one that was planned. They gave the name, but it was never released.
I know. I was disappointed by that. But yeah,
did it get canceled or just
I don't know.
Wow.
It's great. It's great though. It's a great novel. I think even without it being like a Gothic, it's just a good saga. Really, really
good. Is the second one a standalone? Like, how something you can read them out of order kind of thing? Or is it a continuation?
I don't know too much about it. I know it focuses on different characters, but the ones from this book do at least appear, from what I understand, but I don't know that much.
One of those settings,
yeah. It's
I like that style though. I like when you can read the books, even if they are related to each other. If you can read them out of order, I like that.
Yeah, I
Like
think
you don't have to know what happened in the first book to get the second book. That's what I mean by that.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so what did you read, Aphrodite, in your LG? What am I saying this wrong? LGBTQ.
I read The Haunted Bedchamber.
Ooh.
So let me take that back. I'm reading The Haunted Bedchamber.
Okay.
I'll tell you what had happened.
I just thought she picked something that she might be scared of, like girls at haunted.
I did.
Why did you
And
pick
I didn't
that?
even obey my own rule because it
You know
said
you
haunted.
scared.
It said haunted. So I should have known right off the bat that meant ghost. But I was hoping that it was fake. That you just think it's haunted. And
She's psyching herself out like
it's more bedchamber stuff. No, so I spent the whole time as I'm reading the book, and I'm going to finish it. Don't get me wrong. I just had to stop because I live alone. I just moved in here. Y'all see my boxes.
Oh, we do.
Your girl got scared because, and I'm yelling. I'm that person who yells at the television, like, "What are you doing, dummy? Don't go in there!" Right? So the poor guy, and I can't think of his name right now because I'm upset with it. He summoned, like the younger guy summoned to the manor by like the older relative, blah blah blah, and they purposely put him in this room that is considered haunted, thinking it would scare him away because it scared away everybody else that they brought. Right. So for whatever dumb reason, when he's in bed and he's like, I wonder what's going on here. He feels that depression that happens when somebody sits on the bed when you're in it, and he's looking and he doesn't see anything.
I just got chills from that.
But he doesn't get up.
When you see the bed, like the impression on the bed, no.
Yeah. So here you go. See, I instantly went into Hope Aphrodite Lee mode and was like, get out of there. You don't see the person. What are you doing? What do you mean you're curious? Of what? You don't see him. And he goes, I don't know for sure, but it feels like a male presence. Get out. So I was yelling at it. Like, and he goes, and then I felt the hand and his thighs and other parts, and I'm like, bruh.
Get out of these
Get out. Oh my God.
Get out. So the next morning, after he gets all touched and felt up by the thing he can't see, the next morning everybody's at the breakfast table, and he comes down. They're like looking at him like he's here, because everybody else that was in that room had common sense and left. So he's like, they're like, how was your evening? He was like, fine. But I mean, he didn't want to let on that he had got visited, because now he's like,
he enjoyed the visit.
And no, he's curious because what's going on. But the part that got me later on in it, when the ghost came back, the ghost was like, I'm gonna have to get some of this boy. And he's about to surrender to the ghost. And then he thinks, whoa, wait a minute. What if this guy is a ghost but he died at like 12 or something? And so he reaches up. And mind you, he can't see the guy. He cannot see him. He can only feel him. So he reaches up and he feels his face, and he feels like the scruff of someone who has at least shaved before. And he goes, oh, well, he has at least had his first shave. We doing this.
Like this proves it.
I thought you were going to say like he felt that he's like 100 years old, which would be really creepy.
Nope.
That did it.
So I'm listening. I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
scruff was enough.
Maybe so a good reason to stay, because apparently he's good at what he does.
So would you recommend this?
So far, I would definitely recommend it if you're not a punk. See, I'm a punk. That's the only reason why I'm having a hard time with it. There's nothing wrong with the story. It is me going, why are you still there? Why are you still there? You got out of the house. You in town. You safe now. Why are you over here talking to the old lady about the stuff that's happening in the house? And she said, oh, don't go back there. And you're like, nah, I'm going to go back.
Oh
I'm like,
I think I can relate to this character.
If it was starring me, it would be over on page 3. It was like, Aphrodite got in bed. Aphrodite felt the depression. Aphrodite ran.
The end.
Aphrodite was never seen again. So yes, I would recommend it. I have not gotten to the end. I don't even know who the ghost is yet.
It sounds good just from your
People,
description.
because people like, that's your grandfather's ghost. That's your grandfather's ghost. And he's like, wait, what? They're like, no, the ghost belongs to your grandfather, not it is your grandfather.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I was about to get a little what?
So he's like,
this ghost like this family apparently.
So yeah, it's just I have no idea what's happening yet because I keep yelling at this dummy.
He's a stupid character.
Okay, so
it scared me.
It sounds great. So moving on, I'm going to try to wrap this up by 8:30 if we can. So
okay. I'm sorry, I just had to tell.
No, it's great. So, Jeanette, what did you read for your?
I read Castle of Bone.
Okay.
So this one was actually set in Japan. It's modern day. It has the Gothic feel because it had the dark castle of bones, they called it. It apparently is a castle that appears and disappears. And the male lead, I can't remember this kid's name. Did I put his name? I thought I put his name. He actually sees his castle with him and his friends on a vacation trip, and he's like wandering around. They actually sent him there to try to mess with him as a prank. So they're like, yeah, go visit the Castle of Bones, blah, 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 you bet you won't. So he does go, and it's there. So he like goes in, and then it's like he can't find his way out because it's kind of mazy. He's like, why am I here? At least he has a sense like, I need to get out of here. This is messed up. And then he sees like, he hears this weird dragging sound coming up behind him.
I don't like the dragging sound.
Exactly. And he like hides. He hides, and then it goes by him, and it's like the skin is hanging off, and it's like, yeah, it's this terrible creature. And he like sees it in the room, and it's eating someone.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's eating someone, and then he's like, oh my God, I need to get out of here before this gets me. But he can't find his way out. So it's like it thinks it hears something, and then this guy grabs him into this room, and the room is like super clean because this place is dilapidated inside. It's like sticky messes everywhere. It's like it's no good, right? But the room is super clean, and it's like it doesn't belong here. And the guy's like, of course he's hot. Of course, obviously, duh. But so he has like automatically attracted to him and stuff like that. And then he like gets him out the next morning, because they hide out from the creature. And it turns out that the guy, he's stuck in this castle. But when he, like, after he gets him out, the castle disappears. So he feels bad and wants to get the guy that's inside out. So that's kind of like the romance part of it.
Okay.
And then you got like the monster that's in there that lures people there. People come there and it eats them.
That sounds like some D.L. Tillery type stuff.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it is. So it was really, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It was well put together.
Sounds like it was a lot of horror.
It does have the Gothic part. Just that part of it was horror, but it was kind of just like, it was very focused on him trying to save the guy in the castle. And it has some twists to why he's in there, why he's trapped. Is he really dead or undead or alive? And it's just, so it does have it's really good. So the romance aspect is pretty good in this one. It's not kind of like back burner set. So I would recommend it though.
I'm looking forward to reading this.
Yeah, sounds good. Then number 5 was read a BIPOC main character Gothic romance or short story. So what I did, I just went on Amazon and did a search.
Yeah.
And this came up, and I saw that DL had liked it, so I read Music of the Night by Angela J. Ford.
Me too.
And it was really good. It's definitely it's based on the Phantom of the Opera, which is then why I decided to read Phantom of the Opera. So there was that crossover.
Oh, okay.
It was, I think, to me, this book felt very much like a fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy.
And I'm telling you, there were some moments that
yeah, it got a little spicy.
It was spicy.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Like I don't know if I'll continue with the series, but I thought it was like a quick, light,
it wasn't bad
romance. It definitely has like the Gothic in it, and I got into it. I really got into it, and I thought it was well done. I thought the author really knows how to write a good like love scene.
Yeah,
and it was great. So Edie, what did you read for?
I read that one actually.
Oh, you read that, and so did
Yeah.
Jeanette. So the three of us. Well,
Yeah.
She
strayed.
just buddy read it.
I
Yeah,
strayed.
it was good.
What were your thoughts on it though, Ed?
It was. I'm not used to the fantasy element in Gothic, but I mean, it was definitely Gothic, and it just kind of surprised me. And yeah, it was definitely spicy and got spicy really fast.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah, I really liked it. I'd be willing to continue the series.
Yeah, the series looks interesting.
I'd recommend it.
What's the
All
name of it again?
Music of the Night.
Yeah, by
that does sound
Angela
fantastic.
J. Ford.
Angela J. Ford. I forget the subtitle, but yeah, it was good.
Tower Knight novel or
Yeah,
something?
something like that.
Night novel,
It-
yeah.
I guess my only criticism of that book, it seemed very like there wasn't a lot of world building, you know what I mean? Like there was the castle here, the tower here, and the tower here, and I didn't really understand like I'm like, okay, I'm in a fantasy world. It felt a little generic. That was the only thing. But I really thought that the tension, like the romantic tension and the sexual tension, was all really well done.
Yeah, that was kind of focused on.
Yeah, it was like focused on that.
Yeah.
So Aphrodite, what was your?
Mine was Lured by the Dusk.
What's it called?
Lured by, it's words I can't say very well.
Lured
by the Dusk. Nice.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Not dark, because I keep saying dark.
Dark.
Dusk.
Dusk or dark?
Dusk.
Oh, Dusk. Okay.
Nice. I like the title.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is the character's name. Her name is Tanner, and I love that name. And she basically, dead parents kind of thing, got sent to the uncle who don't care about her, and the uncle is actually mistreating her. So she decided that, he mistreats everybody in the house except his kids, because there's like kids on the property too. Well, by kids I mean teenagers on the property, and he doesn't. If they get out of line or the servants get out of line, he kind of punches them. But so she decides, and this is like right in the beginning, like she's already trying to run away, and there's some kind of mystery. I don't understand it just yet. I'm not finished it. There's a mystery that's going on with the town itself that her family's connected to, and she doesn't care. She's just trying to get away before her uncle tries to marry her off, and she convinces two of the kids on the property to help her rob the cemetery, because she said the dead people don't need the trinkets, and she needs it so she can have money to get away. So anyway, she disturbs a spirit that decides she needs to pay for disturbing him, and he literally takes her back to the house. So then she's in this like, wait a minute, he's a ghost, or he said, no, I'm the devil, and she can see him full form like we are. So she's like, he doesn't seem like he's a ghost, unless this is what ghosts really are. We just don't know. She's trying to sort him out, which again, I would have ran. Meanwhile, he's like, you know what? So you're a what? Like, I forgot their name. So you're a Beaumont. Okay, let's go. He takes her back to the manor where she's trying to run away from, confronts her uncle, and her uncle says, he tells the uncle, and the uncle instantly recognizes him. He doesn't go into this whole thing like, he's like, what do you want? And he's like, I want her because she tried to steal my stuff, and you give me her or you're going to be sorry. And the uncle's like, bye, you can have her. And he says, oh, and I want the thralls as well. And the uncle's like, oh, well, you're not getting that, whatever the thralls are. And he goes, oh, I can't have the thralls. So he makes up these bats or other stuff. Come to find out, he's like the Pied Piper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's like,
that's creepy.
He already because he like drowned all the kids and stuff like that when he helped them down, and the town sucker punched him and didn't do what he wanted. He said, y'all think you think I'm gonna do that again? Because I'm out now, so do what I want. And the guy would rather die than give him what he asked for. Yeah. So he said, I'm gonna give you till tomorrow. And he takes the girl. Oh no, he makes them marry her. I'm telling you, this is like in the very couple pages. He makes them legally marry himself to this creature. And he's like redhead, fairy ears, the whole thing. Like she's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not going nowhere with him. And they're like, yes, you are. and the auntie packs the bag, everything doing the wedding ceremony, like they want her gone.
Wow.
And
I need to read those
so
songs for sure.
It sounds good.
it is pretty good, and I like her. I'm not into lots and lots of description, but I like her description. First of all, it's not annoying. It's not like 12 pages of what color the walls are. But I like the way she describes it. Like I wouldn't have said that way. That's cool.
Yeah.
I get exactly what she's talking about. But again, the 19-year-old boy that's locked inside of me is giggling all the way.
Of course.
So I'm liking it so far. I am not done.
Okay.
So I mean, I read the same thing you all read. So only thing I had to say about it is I did like it. I gave it 5 stars. I have since that it also had a Beauty and the Beast type of feel to it, retelling it along with the Phantom of the Opera. One thing I did like about it, which was weird and different, is that I was reading because I picked it because of the BIPOC.
Yeah.
And then the person who wrote it is also Black.
Right.
And she did not mention the female lead's race.
No, she didn't.
The skin tone until the very almost end of the book.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Which was, I noticed it, obviously. So I was like, wow. I said, she did give a description of the males that were interested in her. Even
that's insane, because I have no description of Tannis either.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting because I was like, okay, but this new.
Oh no! I only know that Tannis is of color because of the cover and the description that she described the dude, but she didn't describe her. But then again, it's her. She's not going to stand and talk about herself. Oh, my auburn hair, my brown skin. She's not going to do that. Or if she does, it's kind of bad writing. So we haven't got there yet.
It just cut me off like, look, you're done.
Okay.
But anyway, I liked it. I do recommend it. But again, like you mentioned, Regina, about there is some missing world building.
Yeah. It could have almost been longer. It's a short read. And are you guys all on Goodreads? I think you are.
Yes.
So if I created a playlist or whatever you want to call it for this challenge, a hashtag. So if people want to find these books.
Oh, I gotta find you then. Huh?
Yeah, we'll find it. Oh. So just want to kind of wrap up, I guess, because we've been doing this for a while. An hour and a half.
Yeah.
We've had a really great discussion. So let's just finish up with what film or TV Gothic show did we watch?
Yeah.
So without talking about too much, but I watched the Mayfair Witches TV series, Anne Rice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a video about it. I have a lot of thoughts. I went, of course,
I went and like the book.
No, it's very different from the book, and I'm a big fan of the books.
Yes, I have the books.
And it's one of those things. I was like, oh, why did they change this character? Oh my gosh, what? But then once I just said, I'm just going to watch this for what it is.
Right, because I don't mind when things change when it's in different medias. I don't.
If it's good, you have to separate.
If it's good, it could be the different way of telling the same story.
Yeah, it was very different, and some of it I was like, no. But then I just watched it, and I enjoyed it. And then, of course, I went and I looked at all the 1-star reviews, and so many people hate it.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I'm not surprised, really.
Sometimes it's like you just need to let go of that and just enjoy it for what it is. And if it was really bad, I wouldn't have liked it, but it was, and there were some like silly moments in it, but it was very entertaining. So I watched the whole series, and I hope that they do a season 2, because I did enjoy it. And I haven't watched the Interview with the Vampire one yet. I know they changed that one a lot, but I'll probably watch that one too.
Episode of that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but I kind of want to watch it.
So good.
Because Anne Rice and her son both had something to do with that, so I feel that whatever she said is what it is, and I'll accept it because the writer had to do with it.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, I don't know if everybody in the whole wide world is gonna like it, but I freaking loved it. It was almost like they let Anne just be Anne. As opposed to trying to we're not going to work. I mean, they did the race change with the one character.
Yeah, Louis.
Yeah.
but they handled that so well because I'm like, you can't just change during that time period.
It would be
Yeah.
differences.
Change him,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That would
they
be hard.
changed him to a black man in that time period and still did it correct. So I
Mhm.
was like,
Okay, well, long as they did that, because that was
so good. I have not seen any more
Yeah,
of it.
I want to see
Only
it.
the first episode is free, so I don't
Oh,
have
okay.
whatever
Oh.
platform. But
I'll
I'm
tease you.
not. I don't care what anybody. If they tell you it was terrible, it was not. You may not end up liking it.
It's got
and
time
that's,
for
you know,
yourself
your
at the end of the
taste.
day.
But it was very good. I know. I'm glad Ann got to see that before she
Yeah, and
left.
help and make yeah.
Woo!
But I'll be waiting for Regina's video on Mayfair Witches. I'll be
Yeah,
interested to see
definitely.
what you got to say
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
going to do a video on it. So, ED, what did you watch?
I actually watched 3 movies. I
Oh.
watched, they're all
Yeah.
rewatches for me. I watched the original Rebecca, the
Mhm.
Alfred Hitchcock film. Excellent adaptation.
Yeah, I love that.
I watched Crimson Peak, my actual pick, which
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of that film. And I rewatched the adaptation of Dragonwick.
Oh, okay.
And now I see how different the book and the adaptation are for sure. They cut out a bunch of stuff and they reorganized some of the characters and the ending would not have worked the way that it was written in the book.
Where did you find Dragonwick? Where can I find it?
I'm not sure where you can find. I have it on DVD actually, but you may. It might be on Amazon Prime, possibly.
I'll look.
Yeah, Google it up.
Okay, Aphrodite, what did you read? I mean, watch.
I watched 2 versions of Rebecca,
Okay.
and I watched every single version of Camilla I could find from YouTube.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The Army Hammer Rebecca, I DNF'd it.
Ooh.
I was literally watching, going, why do people like this story? Because he was so wooden, and I don't think he was like Army wasn't there. Like, because Army, I don't really care for Army Hammer, but Army Hammer is a good actor, and he didn't bring his A game, and I just couldn't get into it. So I went to Alfred Hitchcock. And I was like, this is why people.
Yeah, it's good.
And then Carmela, it's so many different versions.
It is a lot of versions.
So many. And there was even, I saw like a one that was based off of Carmela that's not called Carmela, that Andy McDowell was in.
Oh,
And that just
I love her.
I mean, it just I was like, okay, I quit. But with Rebecca, I had a hard, honestly, I know everybody loves Rebecca and it was good, but I had a hard time caring about the guy. Cared more about the house.
Oh,
I had a hard time because when I was watching it, I'm going, I don't think he cares about his wife. Something's up.
yeah.
And I just kept getting that feeling. And I promise you, I didn't know anything about the story. Just to get to the end, I'm like, I was right.
How is that?
And then Carmela, I just like anything that has to do with vampires. I'm sorry.
Yep, I feel you on that.
So that was what I did.
Okay. And Jeanette, what'd you watch?
I watched The Vampire Doll.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I originally was going to watch Crimson Peak, but I watched it. I watched it when it came out, and then I didn't like it. I like Tom because I'm a big Tom fan, but I just was like, this has been done before multiple times. It's always like when they do any of the like sister brother thing, it's never done any different. It's quite always the same.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've seen this a million times, so I didn't want to watch it again.
Did you say Vampire Doll?
The Vampire Doll. It's a Japanese film.
It's good.
So it is good.
I really didn't watch it. I want to watch it. I love 70s stuff.
And so, of course, I went automatically once I decided I wasn't going to watch Crimson Peak. I was like, I'm of course going to watch something that is Asian film. I only watch Korean, Japanese, and Chinese film.
That is so cool.
TV. So that's all I watch: the dramas and movies, and whether it's horror or whatever, or just what romance. That's all I watch all the time. So I was like, let me find something in my language, that's my second language anyway. So I looked at that. It was really good. It was started off with a young man looking for his fiance. He's coming back from being abroad working, and he comes back and he finds out that she is not alive. So he's kind of heartbroken, but then he sees her. He's quite sure at her house where he's staying that night, but then he disappears. And then his sister and her friend come looking for him. and then it kind of that all comes together like that. So it was really good. I did enjoy it, and it was something new, which I was really happy to find. So I do recommend for everybody to check it out. It's really hard to find Gothic romance that is in like Asian culture. So I was like, let me look for that. And they have a whole series of movies that this director did. It's like another Dracula type film, and so there are a few different ones.
I love those Asian horror films. What's that one? The Sisters. You know which one I'm talking
about? Are you talking about Betty Davis sisters?
Oh, you mean
and they were twins.
Yeah, the Baby Jane, that one.
No, not that one. That's the sisters, and they were.
A Dead Ringer.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's a good
there's
one.
So many. There is a tale with the two sisters. A Japanese film. It's
that's
horror, and then so that one. There, of course, there's The Ring, Goo. There is Grudge. There's the one I really like, Red Woman. There's a lot of tales of that's in Japan that are based off of like history and stuff that are creatures in certain places that they tell you not to go. Mm-hmm. And then they've used those in their stories to tell. The house where the Grudge is actually is a house that is in Japan that, you know, you really shouldn't go there type of situation. Like they have people living in this house in the movies and stuff. Like no one's going to live there.
Yeah.
This has been condemned.
They got a whole forest.
Right. The whole forest is like with people suicide forest.
Yeah.
It's haunted and things like that. So these a lot of tales that's like that. Tiki. That one's like a old ghost that's on like a train track, and this one will tear you apart. There's a lot of really good stuff. A lot of new stuff come out too that it's hard to get now.
Do you do any reviews of those movies on your channel? Because
I'm been thinking about starting a channel specifically for like me watching like
that would be great.
And Korean stuff and doing reviews. I've watched like probably thousands at this point. Like that's all I do all the time.
I think that's amazing.
Channel, and I'll be the guest star on her channel. I'll be sitting there the whole time going, nope.
I do watch the romances too. The romances to me, that's really why I started, because the romance dramas are really like O'Malley, the kind of way I like men to be. So because I really like Asian men. Like my daughter's father was Chinese and Puerto Rican. So it's like I do prefer that. And then Korean men specifically, because they are very like, you know, I like men to be like in charge. That's kind of how I like my males. So when the K-dramas are like that, you know, this is silly and goofy, but the ball thing, I'm very into that. Like, yes, trap me here. I'm not trying to escape. I'm not trying to escape. But yeah, so I thought about doing the channel thing because so many people watch it now. And I'm very into it and give some people some reviews of what they might like to see.
I think that would be great. So we're kind of running out of time. Just one last thing. Did we DNF anything? I definitely DNF'd Anne Radcliffe, the Mystery of Udolpho, although I just put it down. I'm going to go back to it. It was just such a tome, and it was so dense, so big. And I read the first chapter, and then I'm a little confused, and I read it again, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to finish this before the end of the month. So I'll go back to it. But so that was my DNF.
My DNF was always in August. So
I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I DNF Haunted Bedchamber.
Okay.
But I am going to finish when I get up the nerve to keep going. It wasn't because it was bad, it was totally because of me.
Maybe you'll have to read it when I'm over.
Yeah, you need a company. E.D., did you DNF? Did you mention that you DNF?
No, I didn't DNF anything, but I do have that always in August. Now I'm a little nervous to read it.
I mean, you might like it, E.D. It's very, I'm going to pick it back up and try and read it. It's just that she's like, it's very was descriptive to me. I just wasn't enjoying it. Like when she first mentions the beginning of the plot of like the friend that comes back and she's like, oh, she's here. And then she's supposed to go back like a flashback type of situation and talk about like why their relationship is strange and why this person, but then she completely goes off the rails and starts giving description of all these other people and things that I'm like, why'd you even say that? Now I want to know what, and then you're descripting doors, and then what are we doing?
Some people really like that though.
It's probably fine.
It depends on how it's done, I think.
Yeah, I was just rushing it too, so don't go off exactly what I said. You might enjoy it, but just don't give it time. Don't be like, I gotta
Okay.
finish this at a certain time because you might be like, I'm done with this book.
That's true. Like I feel that way with Anne Rice. If I feel impatient, I find it hard to read her. But if I just want to get lost in it, then I do just
Anne
get
Rice
lost.
can be like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
Okay.
I felt like that with some Reese Andrews stuff in the beginning too, because I'm like, we get it, they're blonde. We get it. I promise you,
the Dresden Dolls.
I promise you, will not forget that. But the stories are so good; they just keep you full.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been a real treat, guys. Thank you so much for doing this challenge.
Thanks for including me. This has been
of course. I know it was a tough month for you, Aphrodite, and I hope things are a lot smoother now that you're moved and everything. So let's do this again. We'll do another live sometime because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to come up with another challenge for us to read. As long as it doesn't involve male creatures, ghosts, and now dolls.
Well, I would say now it's one of you guys, your turn to do the challenge. And,
maybe you want me to do the challenge?
Yeah, I would, because I loved a lot of the stuff you were talking about.
I'll come up with a challenge. It'll be great. I'll keep Aphrodite's things in mind, of course.
Okay. Well, it was lovely to see you all and chat. And have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.